Alessandra, honey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And you?
I am so good. I'm so good. We actually had this conversation a couple weeks ago, but the audio, and so we get to do this again. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to interview such a renowned researcher when it comes to, anti-aging and skin regeneration. Like that's what it's all about. And I'd love to have you just start kind of what was the beautiful motivation, that defining moment for you where you wanted to really help most probably women, men too, right? Not only protect their skin, but also help to actually root cause regenerate their skin.
Yeah. So, I have always been passionate about biology and wanting to improve our health. Actually, when I was growing up as a kid, I wanted to study biology so I could clone my family, create a clone of them so I would never lose them. This was the idea when I was
A
10 years.
great motivation.
Great motivation. I wanted them to live forever. I didn't want them to lose them. So it was like, okay, if one day I can clone my parents, they will always be around me.
Oh, I love that.
And that was one of the motivations for me to start studying biology. And when I joined college, okay, that crazy idea was not there anymore, but I was very interested on stem cell research and how we can build organs in the lab, like how we can eventually grow different tissues in the lab. So that's how I started my research, studying stem cells and differentiating into specific tissues, and more specific on my PhD, I got interested on skin tissue because it's more compared to a heart, it's more easy to reproduce in the lab, and you can make a lot of impact on researching wound healing. That said, I did my PhD researching wound healing. I moved from Brazil to Portugal. I stayed 3 years researching still wound healing as in a postdoc in academia, and I saw myself frustrated of not being able to translate that research to bring that research into reality. And it's interesting because in 2016, I was already 3 years in Portugal doing postdoc. I have met my co-founders back on when I was doing my master. And I was on that pivotal moment that what I would do next, because continuing academia is not fulfilling my wish of helping others, but I didn't know what to do. And I tried to start a company in Portugal that did not went well. I was applying for some grants to continue my research in academia, and I was not getting those grants. And I was the last one that I applied. I was okay, this will be a sign. If I don't get this grant, this fellowship, I'll go back to Brazil. I will start. Maybe I need to start something different from research. Guess what happened? When the result came, I did not get the grant for one decimal. And I was completely rethinking if I should give up research and start something else from the beginning. 2 days after I got that notice of that grant, I received an email out of the blue from Carolina, my co-founder, my friend from Brazil, saying with a letter saying, we want you. We're starting a company in San Francisco, researching skin aging, and you have the right expertise because you're been more than 8 years researching skin biology. Come join us. We want to impact people's life by improving their skin health. And that was wow, I was almost giving up research, and was just the right moment. I just replied to her, okay, I need to apply for my visa and I'll be there in a month. So 1 month later, I moved to San Francisco. And I really, when I started looking to the skin on the aging length and on the preventative side and the importance of this organ, I started to get even more passionate about this tissue, because improving the skin health and resilience not only help us to look better while we are aging, but it really protects our internal body from the chronic aggressors that starts to accumulate with aging. And here I am, 8 years later. I had no idea we would have a skincare brand at that time, but the result of our
Wow.
research brought us to develop this peptide. And then I finally was able to make that dream come true of a scientist that had the research and produce a product and people are using, and we see the benefits on their skin, and it's extremely rewarding.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, I am in love with with OneSkin. I learned about OneSkin most and we'll get into the factors that drive aging. And goodness knows menopause, all of my women are really wanting to know, women in midlife where hormones are changing. And then life has just been lifing. Like I grew up in the 80s. I'm an 80s baby at the beach. We didn't know about sunscreen. My sister is a little bit lighter skinned than me, and she would just burn. And I just remember, being so many shades darker during the summertime because we just were in the sun all the time. And I'm beginning to see the effects of that amount of sun. And so one of the things that I've always been looking for is a really robust, really, really protective sunscreen that delivered, that was healthy, that didn't have a lot of yucky chemicals in it, not only for myself, but for my son, who is one of our big goals is that my son is out in nature 1,000 hours a year. And that's about 3+ hours a day. And he's fair. He's like my sister. He's got blonde hair and blue eyes. Did not get the Latina side, although he has Mexican in him, but ultimately he just looks like a little blonde, blue-eyed baby. And so I was like, okay, what do we make sure that we're using? And so I was doing the research and I came across your sunscreen and I was just mind blown. And I thought, prevention is such a big part of it. And I love the tinted for me. I love the tinted. And so that was how I started on the journey of OneSkin, and then really getting to look into the research of it. And I was like, oh my gosh, they have really figured this out. They have figured out like the root cause of these senescent cells and how we can really turn back the clock on aging. And so that was how my journey came to your beautiful product line was through trying to avoid one of the bigger factors of aging, which is being in the sun, like that UVA and UVB rays. And so I would love for you to speak into kind of initially, what are some of the factors that we should be mindful of when it comes to aging? And then I want to get into the peptide.
So there are two main factors that leads to the skin aging. One is intrinsic factors. So factors related to your DNA and the changes that is happening on your biology with aging. And the other one are extrinsic factors. So UV radiation being the number one that's leading the skin aging process because it increases the number of free radicals on the skin that can damage your DNA, and that ultimately leads also to the formation of those zombie cells in the skin. Pollution, smoking, also what you're eating, excess of sugar on your diet can also lead to skin aging. So all of these factors, it's at the end of the day accumulating damage on your skin. Is creating damage on the cellular level. And when the cell starts to accumulate damage, they stop dividing and they secrete inflammation. When they secrete this inflammation, this leads to collagen breakdown. And what we have is like when collagen is breaking down, you're producing less collagen, you have inflammation around that tissue, then you start to see the sagging, the wrinkles starts to appear, and you have more redness in the skin as well. So the signs of skin aging, they're all consequences of how your skin is responding to those extrinsic factors and intrinsic factors. And ultimately, they are leading to damaging your tissue and generating more of these zombie senescent cells in the tissue that it's compromising the healthy environment. We like to make the analogy with a bad apple in a basket. When an apple starts to go, any fruit starts to go bad, it gets moldy, has spread that mold. And if you do not remove that, eventually all the other fruits are ruined. So senescent cells has the same effect. If they start to accumulate and they accumulate with aging and you do not remove or protect that spread, that mold spread to come out, you are identifying the whole environment of healthy cells that are still there. And the consequences of that, as I said, is more of collagen breakdown, is a thinning of your skin barrier, weakening of the skin barrier, so your skin becomes more sensitive, more irritated, and more sagging and with wrinkles. There is also dysfunction on melanin production as well that leads to the aging spots on the skin.
Yeah. And I think, anyone listening to this is probably potentially experiencing some of that's beginning to happen, right? Whether it's extrinsic and a combination of intrinsic factors. And obviously I know that, I think I'm speaking, well, at least for myself, but also for my audience of okay, how can we, do our best to prevent further aging or slow down the aging process as much much as possible. I know some of it is very much an inside job. Like, how do we reduce our toxic load? How do we reduce inflammation? But also, it is how do we, like, what can we do from a product standpoint that actually help us win that battle? Yeah. So that's what we're going to get into. And so in your research, I believe that you came across, you really dove into the research of peptides and how they can benefit skin. And I know that we're hearing all about peptides everywhere. And I think a lot of us think of like GLP-1s and things like that can help us, in terms of metabolic health. But peptides are also being utilized to help with skin aging.
Yes. So peptides is a very interesting class of molecules because they are biological molecules that can have a function inside your tissue. So they can signal the cells to behave in a certain way. They can tell the cells to start producing more collagen. They can tell a cell to reduce the inflammation that they are secreting. So that's why they are extremely interesting. Peptides is mainly a small piece of a protein in terms of like what is the building blocks of peptides. It's amino acids. That's the same thing that builds up a protein. And that's why they are a biological molecule and they can give signals to the cells. So what we did that was different from other peptides that are out there, we searched for a peptide that would specifically interact with those senescent cells in the skin, with the zombie cells, that would signal those cells to reduce the inflammation that they are secreting and would help the cells to repair damage so they don't become zombie cells and they continue functioning as a healthy cell. When they are healthy, they produce more collagen and they don't release inflammation. So that was the specific thing that we did on our research and that made us identify this unique peptide that's specifically targeting the accumulation of these zombie bad cells, damaged cells in the skin. And as a consequence, all our research showed us that when we apply this peptide to an aged skin that's accumulating senescent cells, we do see a reduction on the markers of senescent cells and inflammation, and we see an increase of collagen production and a stronger skin barrier.
Now that is exciting. And so this particular peptide, the OS01 peptide, that's really what's setting it apart from other peptides. It's actually targeting those senescent cells, aka zombie cells, and really stopping those cells from becoming that way.
Yes.
Is that right? Awesome. I love that. And I'm curious, in terms of, what are some things, I know you guys have done a lot of research looking at this as well. So talk to me about, because I know everyone's like, okay, well, what is this routine? What would it look like? And I mean, I know the question, I lead off with skincare. Women aren't asking me like, how long do I need to be doing the skincare? Because I think we're all clear that it's forever.
Yeah. I mean, you need to, the same way, like a lot of times we are taking vitamin supplements. Yeah. We are like taking care of drinking electrolytes, taking care of the inside out. The skin care routine is something that will be more targeted to your skin because even though, for instance, you're drinking collagen, this collagen that you are drinking, it will help having like building blocks to build more collagen on the skin, but it's also being distributed in your whole body. It's not being specifically targeting the skin. So the same way we take care of our health internally, taking care of your skin topically, like from a skincare routine, is extremely important so we can combine those two things for a healthier aging. Because the skin is the organ that's like facing the universe, the environment, and is being exposed to all these stressors, right? The UV radiation, the pollution. So if we do not protect this skin, even though we are doing all the other things, you're missing out on a part to help even better to maintain the health of this tissue. So it's very important to associate a good skincare routine with a good diet and lifestyle choices for a better, healthy aging process, not only for your skin, but for your whole body. I always say, independently on where you start this journey, the age that you're starting to think more about your health, 5 years from now, you will be grateful that you started today, right? You will always, the good thing about creating healthy habits is that the biology of our process, our body, it's reversible. The science has already shown that if you start like taking good action towards a healthy style, you can reverse damage that you had accumulated from the past. So that empowers us of making the right decisions, regardless when, to look in the future and like, okay, later on, my skin being more resilient protects my body to have less inflammation coming from the environment. And if I have less inflammation coming from the skin, because it's the largest organ, I'm also protecting my internal body as well. After later on our lives, after we reach 65, 70 years old, the chances that we will develop a chronic disease like cancer, Alzheimer, they increase because the inflammation in our body is increasing, it's being accumulated. So if we can help like reduce this inflammation through the skin as well, it will be later on very beneficial to your health.
I love that. So what I'm hearing too is now is the new later for addressing the inside out job of like addressing inflammation from the inside, addressing inflammation from the outside, the skin being the greatest barrier. How we are protecting our skin is going to really protect our body as well, and vice versa. How we're protecting inside of our body is going to result in better skin. And so when we're thinking about a skincare routine, I would love for you to walk us through the non-negotiables. Obviously, all of us are doing a skin routine to some degree, but I want to talk specifically about the peptide products, the OneSkin products, and how we can think about our morning routine and our evening routine. I know for me, big part of that morning routine is putting on the sunscreen as well on top of the moisturizer. And so, but also making sure making sure that my face is clean too, and applying. So what would be the kind of the non-negotiable routine that you would recommend for morning and evening?
I think you kind of even guide us on a very like nice routine. In the morning, you wake up with a clean skin, and usually we say if you clean that night, you don't need to exfoliate or use a cleanser in the morning, and you can just like wash with the water, moisturizer that skin with something that is nurturing your skin. For instance, adding this peptide, adding our moisturizer will not only have the moisturizing effect, but also will be delivering a peptide that is helping to reduce the damage inside your skin. And in the morning, always applying a sunscreen on top. This is the most minimalist routine. That said, our peptide, our moisturizer and sunscreen, you can add in between either a serum with a specific antioxidant if this is on your routine, although our sunscreen is already very rich on antioxidants. So for those that like a minimal skincare routine, I would say 3 basic steps is cleaning, making sure your skin is clean. You don't need to use specifically a cleanser if you already cleaned your skin at night and you haven't done is the first step of your day, but washing with water and then moisturizing sunscreen. Throughout the day, if eventually in the middle of the afternoon, you're going to do an outdoor activity, remember to reapply that sunscreen. We know that the right way of applying sunscreen is reapplying every 2 hours, but not everyone does that. And especially
it's called makeup
indoors. So I would say, I'll be honest here, but it's very, very important. If you're going especially during like peak hours of sun at 1 p.m. or something like that, going outside to do any type of activity that you will spend time with direct sun exposure, reapply that sunscreen. And then at the end of the day, it's very important to clean well your skin, to remove any makeup that you added on top of your sunscreen, but also remove the pollution that is like attaching to your skin, and just remove dead cells as well, so your skin is prepared to absorb better anything that you add on a night routine. And again, in the night routine, you would add a moisturizer, and you can even go heavier on a side if your skin is too dry, and add like a heavier moisturizer during the night. And eye cream around the eye is also like interesting because the skin around the eye thinner, accumulates more of senescent cells, and sometimes is where you see the first signs of aging. It has more crow's feet. So adding something specifically for the eyes if you have that need. No need of sunscreen during the night. So it would just in the routine, like really moisturizing and bringing any kind of treatment that will help more your skin. A lot of people also, they like to use retinols. Retinols could be added to your routine together to the moisturizer. Retinols, for those that have sensitive skin, skin, because of the effect of peeling, can be a challenge, but there are other skins that tolerates well and can have some nice benefits of improving the cell turnover of the skin. So you can combine. The interesting thing of this peptide is that it can be combined with other steps of a routine that you're already doing. It does not interfere, but we always like to, okay, if you want a simple routine, you can do the one skin simple routine. If you have a more complex routine that you're already using other type of actives, you can just implement the one skin in between as the moisturizer or as the sunscreen or your eye cream, because it will deliver this peptide that you will not find on any other product. And there is no product specifically until now specifically targeting the accumulation of the zombie cells on the skin like one skin.
I thank you so much for walking us through that. One, a minimalist approach, and then that if we had other serums and other antioxidant rich products that we love, we can just layer this onto that as well. And so that is so helpful. I'm so glad you went over the eye cream and then particularly the sunscreen. I know that even I won't always put I'll put the hat on, but I won't always put the sunscreen on, especially if I'm like walking between interviews where I'm like, am I really going to put this makeup back on again? So, but it's good to hear. I know for me, I really appreciated hearing it because it's just a good reminder for us.
Yeah.
You know.
And one other step that I forgot to make is this: we are taking care of the skin on our face, but we cannot forget of our body. And a lot of times we forget of our body until we are later, like after menopause, the skin starts to become so thin, it starts to have that crepiness look, and we are neglecting the whole side of our body that has a lot of skin on it, right? So one step on our routine is, especially after shower once a day, apply OS1 body on your full body. When you are younger, is a good way of preventing this damage that will accumulate and later on will thin your skin a lot. And if you already are suffering with a thin skin, we have seen amazing results of improving the elasticity of the skin in the body. The skin, especially skin that becomes very fragile and tears very easily. We've seen a lot of customers that start to bruise less their skin because their skin is more resilient, and really improvement on that crepiness aspect of the skin in the body.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I was going to get to that too, because I wanted to talk a little bit about what we can do to combat skin changes associated with hormone changes, particularly in perimenopause and menopause, and on the back end of that, the kind of that crepey skin, and then where it starts to tear, right? It becomes really thin. And so I love that you guys have a lotion for that. Anything else that we should be mindful of regarding, hormone changes, particularly the decline in estradiol? A lot of us, I think more and more women are beginning to realize that estradiol is skin protective, and it's really helping the turnover of skin. And so as we lose estradiol, we start to see that increase in skin aging.
Yeah, estradiol, it's an important hormone on collagen production and on building the skin barrier of the skin. And then when we go through menopause, we have a decline on this hormone. And when this hormone declines, you start to have more collagen breakdown and more inflammation in the skin. And this inflammation is also contributing to the formation of more of the zombie cells, of more of the senescent cells. So once this hormone starts going down, you also start to accumulate more of the zombie cells. And the zombie cells it's a cycle that everything is going downhill, because you don't have the hormone, and then you are having more of the senescent cells, and your skin just starts to become more sagging and more thin because of the association of mainly these two things that are happening at the same time. So during this process, adding a product that is preventing the accumulation of these senescent cells, it will contribute to reduce some of this inflammation and this collagen breakdown that is increasing with the menopausal process, with the decline of the hormones. But that said, it will not solve the fact that you have less of this hormone in your body. So for a lot of people, it can be interesting to associate with a hormone therapy, something that you can talk to your doctor to replenish the levels of hormones, because they are extremely important, not only for your skin, but talking about the skin, they have also a big impact on this acceleration of the aging that starts to be more noticeable when you're going through this process of menopause.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, HRT, everybody, even the incredible research scientists for skin. I mean, we're saying all of us are saying that. So yes, and you know, you talked earlier about reversing your biological age, and that is one of a really good way to do that is bringing on HRT along with all the other things that we were talking about as well. And so I'm just so grateful that you mentioned that. One of the things I see that's hitting the market a lot, I know we talked about it the last time, was a lot of these estrogen face creams, and I was curious what you thought about those. I think estrogen should be an inside job, you know, that's it's working from the inside out, kind of how it always had worked for us. And I think you know, the research that you've come into, you know, working with the peptides that address those zombie cells and senescent cells is really where it's at. But I was curious on your take because I see a lot of marketing around the estrogen
topical estrogen. The thing with any molecule like estrogen to be delivered topically, there's a challenge of the stability of the molecule. So this is something to bring awareness. I think the estrogen orally makes more sense for me, especially because it helps you need more than just only on the skin, and it will be distributed all over your body. That said, I've never done, and I'll be honest here, I like to talk about things that I really tested in the lab. True. I've never tested like a estrogen topical cream and saw the response of the skin to it. So it can have some local benefits, but I would say that orally, like the life of that hormone, like the amount of hormone that you will be taking, it will be higher and probably more beneficial than just a topical application.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was just really curious. And I mean, I'm curious to see where that goes. And obviously, I'm a major proponent for vaginal estradiol. I think that it is profound in supporting women's general urinary system, things like even like UTIs and vaginal dryness and atrophy that happens to our vaginal walls, our labia and all that. So I love that. But it's interesting to see the face component. And when I'm looking at the research, I mean, the thing that was most compelling to me was that it was so clear that you guys really nailed it when it came to the root cause of what's driving the aging of our skin to begin with. And so, you know, I guess we'll see what happens with the research with the estradiol cream and see how that. But I wanted to just talk to you.
I should be testing the lab as well, so I can have a better answer to that. Because if the delivery is happening, it probably has some benefit and it can be a type of cream that can be used associated with the one skin. Because if you're delivering more hormones to your skin and also like reducing the cellular senescence and the inflammation generated by those cells, you're just boosting more a healthy state for your skin.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you know, I know maybe this will be an interesting research thing to consider. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you have a lot of research on your plate already with the products that you have, but I was, you know, I'm curious to see where that goes. And then, you know, I know we talked a little bit about this already. We both have kind of insinuated lifestyle habits that are really critical, right? When we talked about aging, we're talking about biological aging, right? Aging isn't just happening on our skin; it's happening inside the body. It's happening in our gut. It's happening on a metabolic level, on a cellular level. It's happening with our mitochondria and all of that. I mean, cells are cells. You know, at the end of the day, every single cell needs to, you know, be good in its own homeostasis before it can really operate as a skin cell or heart cell or a gut cell. So I always think of as aging as cellular. And so I'd love for you to talk in, you know, what are some of the lifestyle habits as a researcher that you've looked at that can support and enhance our skin health and our overall health beyond a really great skincare routine?
I think it's the thing that we have more research around, like that you can see benefits to your overall health. They're like the easiest, but at the same time, the hardest to do. That is having habit of exercising and also a good diet, especially avoiding processed food and high sugar content food. I think these two things are major. And one other that had been neglected a lot, but now people are getting more awareness is on the quality of your sleep. sleep. When you're sleeping is the time where your body is restoring, is cleaning the toxins, is like cleaning up a damage that occur during the day. So having a good habit of like at the time you go to bed and trying to have a good quality of that sleep, it really changes like your whole, your appearance of your skin and your overall health and energy. So it's also something to be aware and start like paying more attention to your habits before going to bed, and how is the quality, the hours that you're sleeping and the quality of the sleep.
I love it. Also, is there, I know, one of my dearest friends is Dr. Tony Ewan, who's the holistic plastic surgeon. And he always talks about how, don't side sleep. Like try your best to sleep on your head and your neck so that you're not causing wrinkles, or side sleeping that would wrinkle your chest. And that was the other thing I wanted to mention about the skincare routine is I am all of a sudden very mindful of my neck.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like you don't think about it until you have to think about it. And you're just like, oh. And also, again, growing up, being out in tank tops, probably like I've always been really good about sunscreen on my face and on my neck, but not always so great on my chest. And so I'm already seeing a little bit of the skin damage, but also like if I sleep on my side in the morning, I'll wake up and I'll see the lines, the little creases. And I'm like, oh. So, and I mean, I feel like again, those have to be really consistent habits, but those are the habits I'm thinking about. But more so what I wanted to get to was the routine of putting these products on your neck and on your chest, on your that whole region where you get sun exposure that could have sun damage.
Yeah, is what I said. Like we think a lot of the face and we are neglecting other parts of our body. The ones that are more exposed to UV light, usually like the neck, the chest, and the hands, they also start to accumulate and see more visible signs of aging earlier. But like taking care, thinking of your whole body, like the skin is not only on your face, like thinking on protecting that later on will be beneficial. I already created this habit, like when I clean my face, especially face and neck, it's very on my habits to like, I apply the moisturizer, face and neck. I apply sunscreen, face and neck. Sometimes chest is one that I neglect a little bit on being as consistent as face and neck, but I do apply the body lotion on my whole body every day. So being more aware, especially on areas that you're having more sun exposure. UV is like one of the biggest cause of like the damage in the skin and what's leading to skin aging. But also remembering of the whole body, it's important to protect the skin and avoid that thinning that will come later, and avoid some things that only later on you will see and will start to become noticeable. If you start preventing them, they will start being noticeable later, or even like in a very mild way. So the sooner you're thinking and taking care of the skin as a whole, as in the whole body, the better.
Yeah, I think that is the underlying message, is that it's never too late. Even if you're starting to see some changes to your skin, that it's never too late. And the sooner that you can do it, the better. And in particular, it's really interesting. We live in a time where, again, I think it's the most, I don't know if it feels like it's probably one of the most toxic times in terms of the bombardment of plastics and chemicals and environmental pollutants and ultra processed foods and all the things. And it looks like we're starting to look older, younger because of so much of the assault to the system, to the body. And I know that that's constantly getting pointed out of like how these our younger kids, like our 20-year-olds are looking like 40-year-olds. And I just think it's the sooner that we can be on top of these, like a skincare routine, even for our younger daughters and our girls, particularly sunscreen. I think that is really the move, because we're combating so much stress and inflammation on our skin and inside our bodies that when I was younger, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I think I could get away with it, but I think in living in this time, I really don't think we really have that wiggle room anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, my dear. Well, I want everyone to go and check this out. I think that I'm so excited, and I've already seen some really beautiful visible changes. And this was my mom's Christmas present. I got her the entire system, and my mom, I mean, gosh, she is so gorgeous and she's 64 years old and she literally looks my age. And so she's been on top of her skin for way longer. And I probably could have taken some tips from her from way back in the day, but she was so excited. She's always like, okay, what's the new thing? Like, and so I knew that was the gift to give this Christmas. It was for
Yeah.
her.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, and she is loving it. And she's a marathon runner. I did talk to you about that. She's about to
Yes,
run the LA Marathon in a couple of weeks, and I mean she's outside running all the time. And so I
right.
was so excited to introduce the sunscreen to her in particular because
Yeah.
I love that she plays tennis and that she's outside. And honestly, it's amazing for as much as she's outside in the sun, that woman still has such insanely gorgeous skin. But I know that this is going to be just like an even better still for her as well. And so I want to make sure everyone knows where to get it. So I know it's oneskin.co. If you go to oneskin.co/energize and use the code energize, you're going to get 15% off your first purchase. And I'm telling, just get all the things, get the whole system, definitely get sunscreen for you and the whole family. Ladies, get the tinted sunscreen. It is my absolute favorite. And then I have the full body sunscreen too. Anything else you wanted to mention, where else we can find you guys, where we can learn more?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to our website, also subscribe to our newsletter. We
Absolutely.
share so much content, educational content on how to improve your skin health and your overall longevity. I love the kind of content that we share on our newsletter. And you can also find us on social media, oneskin.co. We share a lot of that content on our social media as well.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, honey, for coming on and sharing your wisdom and sharing, how you guys are transforming skin in such a beautiful way. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful that you were willing to do the research. I mean, obviously you're a research through and through, a researcher, and that, you were like, we're going to figure this out. And I love that.
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you for having me here. And thank you for everyone that is listening now.
Thank you so much. All right. See you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you are ready to learn more about perimenopause and how to navigate with a lot of ease and grace, be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can join our community. Don't forget to share this video with someone that you love, that you know is navigating the perimenopause journey as well, because they deserve to feel their best too. See you in the next video.